Welcome back to the Morning Kickoff Show. I'm your host, Matt Witt. We are back to recap another Minnesota Vikings game that was a roller coaster of emotions. But before we get into this, I would just like to mention we are almost at 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if you're listening to the show on Spotify, if you're listening to it on YouTube, and you're not subscribed, be sure to do so. I don't say this really ever because I don't want to continue to promote myself. However, this is a big milestone and it'd be nice to hit 1,000 subscribers. So if you haven't already, be sure to do so. Into this Minnesota Vikings game. It was a roller coaster of emotions. The Minnesota Vikings down by 2 scores 2 times in this game, and Kirk Cousins rallies his team up to come back twice in this game. Another big time win for the Minnesota Vikings. 28-24 Minnesota Vikings. Now we're 2-0 at home on this season, 2-0 against the division, and 2-1 on the season. Minnesota Vikings are 2-1. This ties them first in the division with the Green Bay Packers and Chicago Bears after they also won yesterday. All teams are tied. However, the Vikings do have the tiebreaker as we are the only undefeated team in this division when you're looking at divisional games. Feels so good to say that as Kevin O'Connell has started. It has had a great start to what should be an excellent career for Kevin O'Connell, or excellent next few seasons, next era for Kevin O'Connell and the rest of this organization. Now, unfortunately, looking at this, I'm assuming a lot of this coaching staff does not stay through the Kevin O'Connell era. I mean, we're only in the honeymoon phase of Kevin O'Connell. Looking at it right now, he has called some great games. At the end of the day, there are some coaches that have called some terrible games. And that's where I'm going to start right here. This defense, week after week, has ran the same soft zone shell coverage every single week. Remember that terrible defensive performance we saw against the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football? Humiliated on primetime? We went into this game with the exact same defensive scheme, only this time, instead of having Harrison Smith be the core player on defense, we had Josh Metellus step up at safety. Yes, Josh Metellus, the 7th-round draft pick out of Michigan, I believe it was, just a few years ago. We drafted Lewis Cine in the 1st round, 32nd overall draft pick, and we haven't even seen him yet. No pun intended. We have not seen a glimpse of Lewis Cine. If he played so far this year, let me know because I haven't seen this guy on the field, let alone on the sideline. Where is Lewis Cine? Is he 100% healthy to play? If not, I respect the decision not to play him. However, I have not heard that he is still suffering with injuries to the reason why he couldn't play. Why this guy has not played yet, I don't know. But why this defense is this bad, I also cannot explain to you, as this Vikings defense started out the game with a 14-0 deficit. The Detroit Lions didn't punt once in the first half of this game. They were 3 for 3 on 4th downs in the first half of the game. It is almost like this Vikings defense is relying on the Detroit Lions offense to make mistakes in order for us to have a good performance defensively. Looking at even just the first game of this year against the Green Bay Packers, we had to rely on them to not catch their balls. We had to rely on them to overthrow their players. We had to rely on them to throw short of the sticks. It's almost like this Vikings defense is playing so soft to the point where we need the opposing team to make a play. We need the opposing team to help us make a play, I mean to say. That aside, Vikings defense, I can't say I'm that surprised that this Vikings secondary is as bad. And I'm specifically talking about the secondary here. Obviously, DeAndre Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown did not play in some of this game. That definitely helped out the Vikings defense. I mean, I don't want to ever praise injuries ever in this channel or podcast. Would I ever praise an injury? But it did help out the Vikings defense that they didn't have to deal with DeAndre Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown, who are off to what could be breakout seasons for both of those two players. Secondary has a long way to go. There's a lot of improvements that have to come onto this defense. Is it the players or is it Ed Donatel or is it both? I cannot tell you. What I can tell you is a lot needs to change going forward. Patrick Peterson, not a great day. He had a couple great plays, not a great day. Cameron Dantzler, also some more missed tackles we've seen him make in the open field. Looking at the safeties, Cam Bynum had a terrible day on Monday Night Football, bounced back this week. Josh Metellus is playing safety. That itself should be a red flag. All respect to Josh Metellus, I'm saying the fact that we have Lewis Cine not playing over him is a red flag. But all of that aside, I mean, the Vikings special teams and the Vikings defense was not great in this game. Greg Joseph did miss 2 56-yard field goals. Again, asking him to make both of those 56-yard field goals is asking a lot from him. Asking our secondary to already have a lot of chemistry built, again, that's asking a lot of our secondary. I'm not as high on this Vikings defense as a lot of people are. When I'm looking at the secondary, I'm not as high on this Vikings secondary as a lot of Vikings fans are. And I mentioned this going into the season that the Vikings secondary might be an issue. I mentioned even after week 1. You noticed that there wasn't chemistry into the secondary after week 1. With the absence of Harrison Smith, once again, you noticed the absence. I'm expecting going forward, a lot of these players are inexperienced, that chemistry is built. Cam Bynum, very young. Cam Dantzler, very young. Lewis Seen, rookie contract. Andrew Booth Jr., rookie contract. These are rookies. Why am I saying rookie contract? All these guys are on their rookie contract that I just mentioned here. So chemistry needs to be built going forward. Ed Donatel needs to have a plan B. I'm not saying anything is bad about running zone shell defenses because it works against a lot of teams. I'm saying you got to have a plan B, and I don't even know why I have to say this. Okay, that aside, Eric Kendricks, all-star. He proved once again why Eric Kendricks is arguably the best off-ball linebacker in the league. I mean, it might be Fred Warner. Who else are you putting in this tier of off-ball linebackers? It'd be Fred Warner, Eric Kendricks, Bobby Wagner, maybe if you're still on the Bobby Wagner bandwagon. I don't know who else would be on this off-ball linebackers, but he is insane. Oh, I cannot forget Darius Leonard, of course. I would put Darius Leonard number 1. When you're looking at off-ball linebackers, Eric Kendricks proved once again how underrated he is. Jordan Hicks played alongside him. Did very well. Great job to Jordan Hicks. I like to see Ed Donatel blitzing these players as well. I'm huge on blitzes. You got to blitz quarterbacks when they're pocket passers like Jared Goff. I like to see these players rush in on the interior side of the defense. That aside, once again, I was not surprised that the Viking secondary was bad because I go into every game assuming our Viking secondary is not going to have chemistry yet, is not going to be great yet, as a lot of these players are very inexperienced, other than Patrick Peterson's excuse for not having a good day once again is simply the fact that this guy is old. Looking at the Vikings offense came together by the fourth quarter. I want to first mention thank you for hiring Kevin O'Connell. I mentioned going into this offseason, how important it is to get a young offensive-minded head coach, who puts the ball into the quarterback's hands to make a play. And thank you, Ziggy and the Will family, for bringing him in. And seeing that post-game press conference where he's just in the locker room hyping up these boys, cursing left and right, getting super pumped, it shows how much he loves this team, how much he believes in this team. And thank you to the Ziggy and the Will family for hiring this guy. This is why I mentioned that he is by far a better hire than a lot of the candidates people were talking about. Going back, I said it, I'm huge on Kevin O'Connell. I know we're still in the Kevin O'Connell honeymoon phase, and he has yet to prove a whole lot. However, he is off to a great start to what should be an amazing era under Kevin O'Connell. The reason why I say this is because he involved a lot of players on this Vikings offense. Noticing what we did wrong in week 2, which was simply just targeting Justin Jefferson the entire game. I believe he had 12 targets in week 2 and hauled in just a few of those because Darius Slay and the safety was playing over the top, double teaming Justin Jefferson all game long. Going into this game, Kevin O'Connell knew that he had to involve more players in this offense, and that's exactly what he did. Having Adam Thielen having the biggest day of this year so far. Dalvin Cook, biggest day of this year so far. Please, Dalvin Cook, only play him if he's 100% healthy. I hate to see this player continue to go down every year. He has yet to play a full season in the league, and it's looking like that stat is going to continue. CJ Ham, my guy, hammer time, involved more on this Vikings offense. Huge. That's so great to see. I've mentioned so many times how much of a fan I am of CJ Ham and running an I formation offense. I understand that our offense is not built to make the run as successful as it was under Mike Zimmer. However, CJ Ham is a monster. This is one of the best blockers on this entire offense, and to see him out there making plays, making receptions, being the lead blocker for Dalvin Cook, he got his first start of the season so far as the Vikings started out with the I formation and established the run early in this game. Thank you, Kevin O'Connell, establishing the run early in this game, setting up play action passes to Ben Ellefson, play action passes to Johnny Munt, these big body tight ends making plays. And then also we're going to throw Irv Smith Jr. in the mix because he did get a couple receptions there. And that's all we're going to say about Irv Smith Jr. today. Looking at this Minnesota Vikings, this is a great team win for the Vikings. Obviously, there was a lot of things that need to be fixed going forward. I don't know if the Vikings would have won this game if it wasn't for the Detroit Lions penalties. The Detroit Lions had like 9 penalties or something in this game. Some of them were declined, especially on Awarrior. It was constant, and the Vikings offense did rely on these penalties from the Lions in order to have scoring drives. So that's not a great sight to see when you have to rely on them to have penalties. Like Mike Hughes had his pass interference. We all know about Mike Hughes and his pass interferences. Awarrior, another bad day from Awarrior. Every time we play Awarrior, it's like he has a bad day. That aside, Minnesota Vikings, it's great to see that the Vikings offense had a huge bounce back day. It's great to see Kirk Cousins. Maybe he went into this game. Yes, he did not have a good day overall, but him leading the Vikings offense to a win in the fourth quarter is huge. Kirk Cousins has a history of just up and down performances. That's exactly what we saw in this game. The first half was bad. He overthrew a few players, just wasn't great, but he bounced back in the second half. And this is what you like to see from Kirk Cousins. Yes, he's an inconsistent quarterback. And I mentioned it many times on this show, how I don't like having an inconsistent quarterback. What I like, though, is having a head coach who, even when your quarterback looks bad, still has faith in your quarterback. And this is what we saw in this game. Kirk Cousins didn't have a great first half. Kevin O'Connell didn't care. He put the ball into Kirk Cousins' hands, and he brought us a win in the fourth quarter. Also, in the first half of the game, you heard a lot of boo birds coming in from the stands. Not very often you see Minnesota nice boo their team. It's been often now, as this Minnesota Vikings team has made the same mistakes over and over and over. And yes, we are such a loyal fan base, but we hate to see the same mistakes being made. Great to know that the Minnesota Vikings on offense fixed their mistakes in the second half. And KJ Osborne, 8 targets, 5 receptions, 73 yards, and a game-winning touchdown. Not the first game-winning touchdown of KJ Osborne's career, and likely not the last. Pay this man. Pay Justin Jefferson. Pay KJ Osborne. JJ and KJ are the future receiving duo of this league. I believe when teams continue to double team Justin Jefferson like they did the last 2 games, KJ Osborne is due for a breakout year for the Minnesota Vikings. If he hasn't broken out already, he is due for a breakout year with this Vikings team. And Adam Thielen reaching that age, it's looking like we are going to go younger at the position. Please pay KJ Osborne, pay Justin Jefferson after the season. They're both due for a contract extension. Next week, the Minnesota Vikings will travel to London. I believe this is Tottenham Stadium, the big, huge venue in London, to take on the New Orleans Saints, the 1-2 New Orleans Saints. We have a lot of history with them. Sunday, 8:30 a.m. on Sky Sports. What the heck is Sky Sports? Can we just watch games normally? I get it. This is an out-of-market game, so it's a little bit different if it's in another country. Sky Sports, half of us in Minnesota are probably just going to find a way to pirate this game. I'm going to say completely honestly what it is, what likely a lot of us are going to do if we don't have NFL Network or wherever we'll be streaming this game. I love playing London games against a rival. This is going to be fun to watch. Waking up to watch the London games, I don't like. At the end of the day, great job for this Minnesota Vikings team. And I just want to mention KJ Osborne once again, because KJ Osborne having a big day and seeing Justin Jefferson being the first person to celebrate with KJ Osborne makes me love this team even more. Justin Jefferson didn't care that he wasn't targeted in this game. He knew why he wasn't targeted. Because Jeff Okudah had a great day. The safety was playing over the top. Kirk Cousins didn't want to throw the ball into double coverage like he did against the Philadelphia Eagles. So who'd the ball go to? The next man up. KJ Osborne, Adam Thielen, Johnny Munt. And what did Justin Jefferson do? He smiled and celebrated when the Vikings won this game. That is such a great feeling because it is so common for wide receivers to demand the ball. It is so common for wide receivers to be divas. We have a history of this, especially Stephon Diggs and Percy Harvin, now going into Justin Jefferson. And yes, Justin Jefferson has complained about targets before. Has you ever seen this guy complain about targets when we win? No, because this guy compares more about wins than targets. And this is a great sight to see. And I'm so happy that the Vikings have started out the season 2-1. Yes, there's a lot that needs to change going forward. And hopefully a lot will change going forward. If we saw the same performance we saw in late October, early November, or even later than that, yes, I would probably be a lot more angry. But to have a win puts the Vikings on the right track. To have a win against the division rival, once again, 2-0 in the division, puts the Vikings on the right track. Let's go, Minnesota Vikings. Let's go. We'll be back to preview the next matchup on Thursday.